how are you? This is Lois. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you're well and safe wherever you are. I am a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. I'm based here in Calgary, Alberta. And today we are talking about seeking asylum in USA and Canada. Yes, you heard me right. US and Canada. And this is as it pertains to a certain agreement between these two countries that is called the Safe Third Country Agreement. Okay? That is what we call the STCA. Now, people, have you subscribed to our channel? Thank you so much for subscribing and liking and sharing our videos. If you haven't, please consider doing so. And please, I'm asking you, we have so many cases right now of people who are coming to seek asylum in Canada. And I just want to tell you that you can actually choose between which country to seek asylum, whether the United States or Canada. At times, maybe you don't even have the visa of the other country, but you can still go to that country and seek asylum. So that is what we shall be discussing here in two videos. The first video, we shall look at Canada, and then we shall look at seeking asylum in the US, because this involves the two countries. Okay, my friend? So if you have relatives in the US and you have a Canadian visa, or you have a US visa and you have relatives in Canada, or you already have a Canadian visa or some kind of legal status, my friend, or you will be in a position to do that, this video is for you. So if you're here, you can share this video with all your relatives in the United States, because majority of them will want to hear this. I know a lot of people, especially coming from Kenya, they're in the US without status, and maybe they want to be reunited with their family members. So this may apply to them. So guys, what am I saying? Share this video with your relatives in both countries to see how and what applies. Okay, my friend? So the information on my channel is for education purposes only. I have to give that disclaimer. This is not legal advice. If you need legal advice, please head on to our website. I'm going to pin the website details in the description part of this video, including my email address, guys. You can always book a consultation with me, and I'll be happy to offer you legal guidance. Okay? Paid legal advice. My friend, what is Safe Third Country Agreement? This is an agreement between United States and Canada about who is allowed to cross the US-Canada border. That is the border. You see, these countries are bordering each other, okay? So it's about coming from one country and going to the other country and seeking asylum. So this is the agreement that governs. So these two countries agreed that whichever country you enter first, that is where you should seek asylum. That is the expectation. The general expectation, if you enter Canada, you're supposed to seek asylum here first. If you enter the United States, you should seek asylum there. So it should not be a matter of choice. However, there are some exemptions, okay? And, you know, previously during the other US regime, a lot of people crossed into Canada. So previously, let's not say previously, always you should cross the border through the legal border. So there's so many borders along the US-Canada border. But previously, you could avoid going through the legal border and enter Canada through the, you know, the unmanned spots of the border, and you would have been allowed. So that is, maybe a lot of you have heard about what they call the Roxham Bridge, not bridge, I don't know why I keep saying Roxham Bridge, the Roxham Road, where a lot of people were crossing into Canada, and other spots in between where people would cross into Canada. However, that changed last year, and the Safe Third Country Agreement was extended to cover the whole border, whether it's legal or illegal. So now you cannot cross into Canada unless you meet these exemptions. So before you leave the United States to come to Canada to seek asylum, please make sure that you understand. Otherwise, you show up at the border and you'll be returned back to the US. And believe me, they're not just going to tell you go back to the US. They will return you to the US authorities, who will most likely put you into detention, and then you'll be headed back home. So do not attempt coming to cross the land border until you fully understand that you qualify for that. Otherwise, you're just going to be presenting yourself into the authorities, and maybe you're not yet ready to go home. Okay? So, so where does the STCA apply? As I said, right now the STCA applies along the whole US-Canada border. So this applies to people who are seeking entry into Canada from United States to make an asylum claim, and that is at official land port of entries or the irregular places of entry between the official POEs, or they are entering Canada by train, or they are entering at Canadian airports. And if that person has already been refused asylum in the US and the US is removing them back to their country of origin, and they are in transit through Canada, so that will apply to them. So those are the people who are affected by this. Where does the STCA not apply? It does not apply at Canadian airports, except for the reason that we mentioned above, and it also does not apply at the Canadian marine ports and ferry landings. Okay, so it is important to note that the STCA does not apply to US citizens or to habitual residents of the United States who are stateless. And stateless means that these people don't belong to any country. Okay, so if you cross the border, the officers will ask you for proof that you meet one of the 4 exemptions. Exemption number 1, it's either, it doesn't have to be all of them, at least you must meet one. Either you have a family member in Canada, so we shall look at that exemption, or you are an unaccompanied minor, you are under 18 years old, unaccompanied, or you are a visa holder, or for public interest. So we shall look at those 4 reasons in details, just so that you see, do I actually qualify for this exemption? So under the family exemption, you may qualify if you have a family member in Canada. So this is what Canada calls an anchor member, family member. So who is here and they have the right immigration status. So assume you go to the US, you have a US visa, and you decide, I don't want to seek asylum. Do not seek asylum, because the moment you seek, you're fried. So you don't seek asylum, but you can head into the US border and seek asylum at a US-Canada border to enter Canada and say, hey, I am coming here on this exemption. I have a family member. Who is family member? This family member must only fall in these classes. Either they are your spouse, your common law partner, your parent, your legal guardians, your grandparents, your children or grandchildren, your siblings, that is brother or sisters, half brothers applies as well, your uncle or auntie, your nephew or niece. Cousins do not apply to this. And please also note that this is not a sponsorship agreement. The relative will have no financial obligation towards your immigration to Canada. Exemption number 2, okay? Excuse me. Before I go to exemption number 2, we say that these people must have the right immigration status in Canada. So they must either be permanent residents or Canadian citizens, that is permanent residents of Canada, or Canadian citizens, or they have already been accepted as refugees in Canada, or they have made an asylum in Canada and it has already been referred to the IRB, or this person has a valid work permit or a study permit, or last but not least, they have their removal stayed under the HNC program. So if they fit that category, you can come here and seek asylum. The other exemption was the unaccompanied minor, that is people under 18 years old. So you can qualify under this exemption if you are unaccompanied, you are not accompanied by your mother, father, or legal guardian, or you do not have a spouse or common law partner, and you do not have a mother or father or legal guardian in Canada or United States. Okay. The third exemption is document that is visa holder exemption, and that means that if you hold either a Canadian visa other than a transit visa, or you hold a work permit and a study permit, or you have a valid travel document for permanent residents and refugees, or you are a national of a country that does not need a visa to enter Canada but does need a visa to enter the United States, for example, Mexicans, then in that case you may fit that exemption. And last but not least is the public interest exemption, and that is only applicable to death penalty members, people who are subject to death penalty. So you would have to have been charged or convicted of an offense that could be subject you to the death penalty in the United States or in another country. Then in that case you can come here and seek asylum. Okay, my friends, so remember, it's up to you. The burden of proof is on you to show that you actually meet those exemptions and you qualify, especially that your family qualifies. So if you do, so what will happen if you enter Canada at any other place apart from the legal border? I said if you do enter Canada and you don't fit those exemptions, my friend, you will be detained and you're going to be issued with a removal, an exclusion order from Canada, where you'll be removed back to the United States on the same day, my friend. They don't waste time on this. And the Canadian authorities will notify the US authorities at the port of entry. You will not be able or allowed to re-enter Canada for 1 year, and you can never make another asylum claim in Canada. In this, you will only have 15 days to appeal this kind of a decision. Okay, my friend? So thank you so much for watching, for being with me here. Please like, share, subscribe to our channel, and please share this with your families in the US, especially because of that fast exemption that I talked about there. And I'll see you in my next video, where we shall see who is eligible or ineligible to make an asylum case in Canada. Okay? Bye, guys.